So the running shoe market has been pretty crazy lately. We have super shoes for racing marathons. We have super trainers that are a do-it-all speed day, training day combo, and we have super flats as well. So what is a super flat? Well, essentially it's a lightweight racing shoe with a super foam that's going to be a lower stack height than your marathon racer, making it better for those shorter races like a 5K or 10K. So it seems like more and more companies are starting to dip their toe into this super flat market, and I've kind of seen two trends emerge. The first trend is essentially they take a shoe and kind of make it more like a modern version of a racing flat, where you still have a low stack height for today's standard, but it's thicker than a traditional racing flat, and it uses a super foam, but it's not going to have a full-length plate or a plate at all, and it's not going to have like a super aggressive rocker in the forefoot either. Again, kind of more like traditional racing flats from the past, but just with some modern technologies thrown in there. But then I've seen companies go the other way, where they take their marathon super shoes and then just kind of shrink them down a little to fit the 5K, 10K racing distance better. So a few shoes that are kind of in that first category of just a more modern version of a traditional racing flat are the Nike Streakfly, the Saucony Sinister, and the Hoka Cielo Road. So out of those three, I have only tried the Streakfly, and it's kind of strange because I really do like this shoe. It's super light, it has that soft energetic foam, and it's a fun shoe, but it's not necessarily my preference for a race day. I found that it didn't have that aggressive rocker that I've gotten really used to in my marathon super shoes, and it doesn't have a forefoot plate or anything to kind of give me that nice aggressive pop off. And I feel like that's what this shoe is missing. If it had those, I would definitely reach for it for race day, but currently I've been using it just more for kind of up-tempo training and even just like on shorter recovery days, just because I love the feel of this cushion overall. And it honestly reminds me more of the original Pegasus Turbo than it does of kind of like a modern racing shoe. So now on the other hand, we have kind of the shrunken down marathon super shoes, and we can see examples of this like in the Takumi Sen 8 and 9, the SC Trainer from New Balance, and in a way the Magic Speed 3 from Asics. So starting with the SC Pacer from New Balance, I was initially really excited for the shoe because I really liked the V1 of the RC Elite for kind of 10K, 5K paces, and I thought this would be similar with that, but I don't know how they messed it up. Like, I found that this was just too firm feeling, like it didn't feel like there's quite as much underfoot, maybe not as bouncy. You did notice that plate, so it was really firm and responsive, and you got that nice rocker in the forefoot. So it did have those elements I was looking for, but it was missing kind of that, help prevent beat up your legs by having some of that extra cushion under there that you find in the marathon racers. So it kind of had me torn where, yes, it's a lightweight, fast shoe with the carbon plate. There's still that fuel cell foam in there, but not quite what I was hoping for. I did even go ahead and race a road 5K in the shoe, and while yes, it was snappy at the end of the race, I was ready to take these shoes off because it felt like they just kind of beat up my feet. It's not like with the thicker super shoes or some other super flats even, where at the end of the race you're like, my feet still feel pretty good from that resilient foam underfoot. So in contrast to the SC Pacer, we have the Takumi Sen, and this shoe is exactly what I was expecting. It's essentially like an Adios Pro 2 that got hit with the shrink ray. You have kind of a more minimal, kind of snugger fitting upper that's, fine for me for 5K, 10K paces, but you still have that protective soft cushioning underfoot. You still have that more aggressive rocker in the forefoot. And this one, it doesn't have carbon, but it has fiberglass rods in the forefoot, but still it's just a little extra something to give you some snap, a little pop off the toe. And this is what I was hoping for, that kind of all 5K, 10K super flats would be like. So now another shoe that technically isn't a super flat, but the Asics Magic Speed 3, it kind of reminds me of a slightly lower stacked Metaspeed V1, and while it does have a full carbon fiber plate, it doesn't have a true super foam. It's not using the Flight Foam Turbo, it's using Flight Foam Blast Plus instead, so it's definitely more of an up-tempo trainer and like a speed day companion to a Metaspeed, but I have actually really enjoyed this shoe for 5K, 10K paces, and I would race in this over some of the actual real super flats, so just kind of wanted to throw that in there. Alright, so I know that this is a video about super flats, but I wanted to throw in something that I've actually really enjoyed racing 5K and 10Ks in, and that is Gen 1 Marathon Super Shoes. Those weren't typically around those high 40mm stacks like we have now, and we have shoes like the Vaporfly 4%, which I thought felt much snappier, and you didn't need quite as much protection for those shorter races, so that's one that I've enjoyed. I kind of touched on it earlier, but the RC Elite V1 had honestly a pretty similar stack to the SC Pacer, a little extra foam I feel like, but it feels softer. I don't know how they integrated the plate, but it has like a nice balance of protection and propulsion, and that's why I was really hoping the SC Pacer would feel like the RC Elite V1. And another V1 super shoe that I've raced a lot of 10Ks in is the Endorphin Pro. This one has the Power Run PB that to me personally is on the firmer side, so that's why I like it for those shorter races, and it's not pushing that 40mm stack height, it's a little bit lower, so you still get a bit more responsive feel. Alright, so I got a little bit off track there, but let's reel it back to the super flats. And do you actually need a super flat? And I think that depends. So if you are somebody that races kind of like all distances from 5K, 10K, all the way up to full marathon, and you already have a marathon super shoe, then if you're not racing a ton of 5Ks or 10Ks, your Vaporfly, whatever you have for your marathon shoe is gonna work well for the 10K as well. It might be a little too much underfoot, it might not be as light as some of the super flats, but still a fast premium racing shoe, and it's expensive too, so you might as well use it for all your races. On the other hand though, if you're somebody that mainly races 5K, 10Ks, maybe a half marathon here or there, or you just hate this thick midsole trend that's taken over all the running shoes, then I think you will like a super flat. They are typically cheaper than the marathon racing shoes, and they're just gonna save some weight and give you some more ground feel. You don't necessarily need like a full Alpha Fly level of protection for a 10K, so they're gonna feel less underfoot, but also a little bit more speedy. Again, kind of depending your definition of speed, if you want something that's just lightweight and bouncy, or if you like that more aggressive rocker and a plate. So like I mentioned, this is definitely a new category that the different brands are trying to dip their toes in, and I'm excited to see kind of how it grows and evolves, if it does become more of a kind of real niche that every brand has a version of, or if it kind of dies out because everybody just has their one super shoe that they use for every distance. Anyways, I want to know what team you are on for a super flat. Are you team modern racing flat where you don't have a full plate, you don't have an aggressive rocker, you just have that super foam in a lightweight package? Or are you team shrunken down marathon super shoe where you have all the technologies you find in your super shoes, but a little less stack and a little lighter weight, but you still have that protection and propulsion? Or maybe something in between. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. So for me personally, I am team shrunken down marathon super shoe, and I would love to see more shoes like the Takumi Sen on the market. And for me, that's why this is my favorite super flat. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out my other videos for my new reviews, first impressions, and as always, keep on running.